Curious about outspoken online characters facing real challenges? Keep watching as we show you the moments when men fought back against woke feminism.
We took LGB and then we added LGBTQIA+++, and then we included men who dress up like women and mock women. It's okay if you're proud of your sexuality, but why do I have to be proud of your sexuality?
Why are you so triggered by a flag? It's a rainbow flag.
I'm not triggered by a rainbow flag. I'm triggered by the fact that everywhere I go for a calendar month, everything has to be a rainbow flag.
Well, I'm triggered that everywhere I go for the entire year, everything has to be straight. Why is straight
Where's
everywhere?
my straight flag?
Why am I constantly
Where
getting
is
straight?
my straight flag? When have you ever seen a straight flag? Where's my straight flag?
It's everywhere.
There's never been a straight flag.
Both of you are straight, and you're saying you're exhausted.
How do you know I'm straight? How dare you guess my sexuality?
Let's not play games here.
How many letters are there now in the
That's such
initials?
a pointless question.
How many are there?
I don't even know.
How many are there?
I don't need
exactly
to know.
my point.
I don't need to know because it's not about
there are
the
so
letters.
many letters now, we can't keep up with it.
Piers Morgan didn't hold back, using sharp logic to dismantle the woke person's argument. His direct approach left her stumbling to respond, showing how tough it can be to argue against him.
What gender do you think I am?
I would assume you're female.
Yeah, so you're making assumptions.
Yes.
I identify as non-binary.
I don't, respectfully, it doesn't matter.
It does matter.
Now,
actually.
let me ask you this. What pronoun should I use?
You should use they, them pronouns. So you saying that you
and
don't
what if I don't?
me,
What if I don't?
If you don't, I would consider that disrespectful, and that's actually an act of violence to misgender a trans
It's an
person,
act of
or-
violence.
That is an act of violence to intentionally misgender someone, yes.
Here we come to the issue, and this is why I'm out here. You just said that's an act of violence. That means it's an
Yes.
actionable offense. That means it's a crime.
Stephen Crowder got under the feminist skin by addressing her as female, prompting her to claim that misgendering is an act of violence. Crowder's calm demeanor contrasted with her emotional reaction, leaving the argument feeling exaggerated and hard to take seriously.
You called white supremacy a myth.
I said this last night. Invidious racial discrimination is wrong no matter how it happens. But if a Washington Post reporter says, "Do you denounce white supremacy?" it's incumbent on us for us to define what white supremacy is. If you really care about actual crime against black Americans, let's get to the root causes of it. I think that when you actually care about protecting life, if you want to say Black Lives Matter, let's look at where black lives are actually being lost. It's in the cities, at the heart of other black Americans and criminals
That's
that are
absolutely
restrained by
an
the
issue that we
absence
talk
of
about as well, but are we
and we
supposed
should
to
be.
ignore white supremacist hate crimes?
We're not supposed to ignore any kind of crime, Dasha. That's what I say. But what I see is a selective reporting. Take the Nashville Transgender Shooter Manifesto. Every shooter manifesto in a mass shooting has been released within 48 hours, except for that one shooter in Nashville. I'm focused on that one because that's the one that's been hidden from us. And it comes back to the point of my candidacy and the way I'm going to run this country. Trust the people with the truth.
Vivek expertly handled the reporter's attempt to frame him on white supremacy, insisting that all forms of racial discrimination are wrong. He shifted the focus to addressing crime in cities and emphasized the need for transparency, such as releasing the Nashville Shooters Manifesto, to trust the public with the truth.
You pick any actual woman in this room. In what way do you know that you belong in the same category as them?
I know because they tell me. So here was the...
You need them to tell you what you are?
Women. Yes. I trust the opinions of the women around me.
And if most women...
It's incredible. You might try it sometime.
If most women voted and said they don't see you as a woman, would you say I'm not a woman anymore?
If who?
If most women voted and said they don't see you as a woman anymore, would you then relent and say I'm not a woman?
I would say most people on the planet have no idea who I am. I'm going to trust the opinions of the people who've spent their lives with me.
But you are relying on other people to tell you who you are.
Matt Walsh stood firm in his belief that gender is biologically defined, challenging the trans woman's claim to womanhood. His straightforward arguments left little room for the trans individual to convincingly defend their stance, resulting in a heated but revealing debate.
As a non-binary person, what do you have to tell me about my identity? Because I know for a fact I'm not confused.
Okay, next question. Great statement. That's a statement. That's a statement. Okay, you know your identity. You're not confused. Congratulations, sweetheart. Thank you very much for your statement.
Candace Owens swiftly dismissed the non-binary individual's attempt to challenge her, acknowledging their statement with sharp sarcasm. Her quick response left the attention seeker without much to argue, effectively ending the exchange.
You create a company that's like close to being a fascist, and then like...
Okay. How am I...
Sorry.
Let's go through this. How am I a fascist?
Dude, like you...
Can you name one thing I believe that's fascist?
You believe that, like, you on... Oh, shit.
Don't boo him. Let him think.
But
I'm such a bad fascist. I let the people who disagree in open mic to talk to me for 2 hours uninterrupted.
Okay.
I'm an awful fascist. I'm more like a free speech liberal of the 1970s, not a fascist.
But I just want to say Turning Point USA is a evil company that was funded by thousands of fracking companies, and that just...
No, it's not thousands, but we do have some frackers that give us money. But
and then all it is making the rich more rich.
Fascism to fracking.
That's all it is. That's all it is.
Okay, again, I'm happy to have a debate. I can see you're getting kind of fired up.
I'm sorry.
So, but why are we evil? Like we're having a nice discussion.
Because
all of a sudden you're calling me like a fascist.
Because it seems like you just want the rich get even more rich. Like
we haven't talked about the rich at all. I mean, so you don't even know my positions on this stuff at all. And by the way,
Dude,
just so we're clear, the wealthiest counties in the country all vote for Democrats. You know that, right? 8 out of 10 of the wealthiest counties in the country vote for Democrats. The wealthiest people, absent Elon Musk, are all on the left. Jeff Bezos, George Soros, Mark Benioff, Mark Zuckerberg, Laurene Powell Jobs. On the left, yes. The richer you are, the more likely you are to be a Democrat and on the left.
Explain that to me, please.
The numbers speak for itself. The Democrats are the party of the oligarchy. Can you name one tech CEO outside of Elon Musk that is a conservative?
I personally think... Let me think. Peter Thiel?
Yeah, that's one. That's one. Larry Page, Google, on the left, worth $120 billion. Sergey Brin, Google, $130 billion on the left. Laurene Powell Jobs, Mackenzie Bezos, Jeff Bezos.
If they're on the left, what has they done that was like, quote unquote, to do the left stuff?
Well, okay, so Larry Page gives money to left-wing NGOs all the time.
Like, if you're on the left, I don't think you will ever be this rich.
Well, they are. You know why? Because the left
because they're not.
No,
because they're not.
The left is a scam. The left uses
How is this?
Let me tell you why. It's a good question, actually. The left uses people like you that think that, oh, we're going to fight the rich. Well, they protect their oligarchy.
In a heated debate, a college student who once blindly followed left-wing ideologies faced a challenge when asked to provide specific examples of his beliefs. When confronted with facts about the wealthiest individuals supporting the left, the student struggled to defend his position.
While you guys have to keep on working hard and never own anything, when we conservatives are the ones that actually want to restore the American middle class and bring jobs back to this country.
How would you restore?
Let me finish. The left uses people like you every day, and they use people on you by the trans thing, the abortion thing. Keep voting for us because the fascists are going to take your rights away. When who's funding the left? The richest people. George Soros. Do you know who rich George Soros is?
Who is funding? Dude, I have never seen a leftist organization come to campus spreading their propagandas.
Because the whole university is a leftist organization spreading propaganda.
It's liberal. There is a clear-cut difference between a leftist and a liberal. Please make that
You're coming
right.
after this in a good way because I'll just say Democrat politics, okay?
Okay.
Almost every major, powerful, wealthy person in the country, over $100 billion in net worth, with the exception of one person, Elon Musk, is on the cultural left and gives money to the left. Mark Zuckerberg gave $400 million in the 2020 election to help get Joe Biden reelected through the Center for Technology and Civic Life. Mackenzie Bezos.
That helps his case, obviously. He would donate money to his...
Oh, okay, but hold on. One second. Mackenzie Bezos with $45 billion, major Biden backer. Laurene Powell Jobs worth $20 billion. Steve Jobs' widow, one of the most radical left-wingers in the Emerson Collective. Mark Benioff from Salesforce worth $12 billion. One of the most radical left-wing guys that you'll see out there. The eBay guy, Omador, one radical left-wing. It's so important for you on the left. You guys are being scammed and gamed, because they talk a good game about building the middle class, but it is not the party of democracy, it's the party of oligarchy. And you can go fact check me tonight, and you might actually have cognitive dissonance. Type in this: wealthiest counties in the country, they almost all vote for Joe Biden. Who gives the most political donations to the left? All the wealthy people. Go look up the top billionaires on the Forbes list, the top 100. Only about 10 of them give the Republican, the other 80 give the Democrat, the other 10 don't give it all. It is mind-blowing when you realize the shift in power the last 10 years. Republicans used to be the party of the rich. You know what changed? We nominated a class traitor as our nominee, Donald Trump. As soon as Donald Trump became our nominee, all the billionaires said, we don't want him anymore. He talks about things we don't like. He wants to end the wars, close the border, bring jobs back to this country. We want to keep on supporting a political party that doesn't want any of that stuff. Explain to me how Joe Biden represents the working class in this country. He doesn't.
He very much supports the unions.
It's a hold on a second. The union or the union bosses? Big difference. The union bosses supporting the rank and file love Trump. The UAW loved Trump more than Biden. The carpenters union loved Trump more than Biden. The police union. The point is this, is that the Democrat Party, they are sitting on a house of cards of young activists that truly want to go like crush the rich. And there is some truth to that. Like there's a very rich oligarchy in this country that remains rich and stays rich off of gaming government systems and public policy. And you guys give them a free pass.
The conservative speaker pointed out the contradiction of the left claiming to fight for the middle class while being funded by billionaires. This eye-opening exchange highlighted the disconnect between the students' perception of the left and the reality of its influence from wealthy elites.
Hello. An article was recently published in the LA Times titled, "California's Changing Demographics Will Further Doom Republicans." It starts out with, Democrats dominate politics in California, and Republicans are doomed for one simple reason, shifting demographics. It goes on to state that California is the future. It tends to be more non-Caucasian than most states. But we're heading into that for the rest of the nation. And how are Republicans doing in California? They've got to figure out how to compete here, or it's the ice age. So, my question is, will conservatives like yourself acknowledge what Democrats already know? That is, that demographics is destiny, or is that truth a little too uncomfortable for you?
I can't believe you just referred to the LA Times as the truth. That's an amazing thing. No, I won't acknowledge a Democrat's truth because I think it's not backed up by historical reality. To give a few examples, 5 of the whitest states in the country. What are the 5 whitest states? You've got Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, West Virginia, and Montana. 3 out of those 5 states voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016. Very, very white states. Of those 5 states, by the way, 4 of them voted for Democratic senators, leftist senators, in 2018. That doesn't seem very good for the whiteness argument. When you look at diverse states, not all diverse states, but some, such as Texas and Florida, they have voted reliably in recent years Republican and conservative. On to the point of demographics being destiny. Of course, the left is desirous of mass migration because they think that if they flood the country without any sort of assimilation, if they discourage assimilation, then they're going to be able to dominate the electorate. That's part of their plan. But the idea that voting patterns are somehow hardwired into DNA is simply untrue. And I can prove it in a few different ways. For instance,
in a recent discussion, Michael Knowles dismantled the Groyper argument concerning racial demographics in politics. Knowles argued that the notion of demographics is destiny is flawed, pointing out that voting patterns are not fixed based on race. He cited examples of white majority states voting Democrat and diverse states like Texas and Florida voting Republican.
Right now, black voters identify heavily with the Democratic Party, 85 to 90% at some points. This was not always the case. As recently as the mid-1940s, black voters were about evenly matched Democrat and Republican. And what caused that shift, some people say, was the New Deal, but the timeline doesn't even add up so much there. Actually, if you look at the exact date that things really started to tip, it was 1948 when President Truman desegregated, or rather integrated, the military. So you saw Democratic presidents taking up the mantle of civil rights, saying that they care about black people. And then, of course, President Kennedy and President Johnson get credit for the Civil Rights Act, which cemented, at least in recent memory, black support for Democrats. I'll give you another example. Hispanic voters are not monolithically or racially determined in their votes. How do I know that? Because, of course, of the Cubans, of all of the Hispanic voters, Cubans, even today, favor Republicans. They favor conservatives. Now, the trouble is, generationally, that starts to slip. So the Cuban immigrants favor conservatives. Even the children of Cuban immigrants favor conservatives. But then when you get to the grandchildren, that becomes a problem where they start to veer toward the left. Obviously, that's not a racial problem. They have the same race as their grandparents. Obviously, that's not an immigration problem. The immigrants are more conservative than their grandkids. What it would appear to me more likely is that it is a problem of education, particularly an educational apparatus that from K to 12 and all the way through college and all the way through your master's and your PhD, if you stick on for that, you are told that America is evil, conservatism is evil, and leftism is wonderful. It's eminently clear to me that race is a minor factor here, and that ideas are the issue. So if we want to win moving forward, I think we need to stop these ridiculous and bigoted ideas that race somehow determines what you think about politics, and move on to a more human understanding and frankly, a more reasonable and civilized understanding of politics. You can follow up, sure.
Just last year in the 2018 midterm, whites were the only group to vote predominantly Republican. African Americans voted 90% Democrat, Hispanics 69%, and
I think
Asians
I just said
77.
that, didn't I?
Yes, but what does it matter if they were more Republican in the past than today?
Because it shows that it's not racially determined, which would appear to be your contention when you say demographics are destiny. So if they're not racially determined, then something else is at work here, which is exactly my point, and it would seem to be not your point.
So,
sure.
If I may ask, when then will they begin to vote for Republicans again?
Well, I got to tell you, guys who push an exclusively racial politics aren't really helping the situation very much, in my opinion. And if my thesis is correct, that the perception of one political party embracing black voters and another political party shunning them was a major motivator of the black support for the left, and that would seem to be borne out by historical reality, then what I would recommend is we not speak with racially exclusive language and with political ideologies that really don't seem to bear much with regard to reality and the reality of how we think about politics and the human person. Good question.
Nobles emphasized that voting tendencies shift over time due to factors like education and cultural changes, not race. He also criticized the left's focus on mass immigration as a strategy to dominate elections, stressing the importance of ideas over race in political alignments, and rejecting racially based political ideologies as both wrong and harmful.
Said, Chase, would you rather smash the hottest trans woman in the world or the oldest woman in the world? Honestly, bro, the oldest woman in the world, because then I wouldn't be gay. Are you like, Chase, how dare you be transphobic?
Yes, actually, what the f do you mean?
Because if I had sex with a trans woman, I'd be having sex with a biological man, and I don't want to do that. Because I'd be gay if I had sex with a biological man.
That's not gay.
That's
and
gay.
I don't even shut the f up, actually.
She's right. I mean, that's really hateful, bro.
She's not, would technically be homosexual. A trans woman is a biological man. Sue me, it's true. You know what God said? It said he made them man and women. Who knew that stating biological facts would make people walk off the show?
In a recent debate, a feminist abruptly left the discussion after confronting straightforward facts about gender issues. The argument centered on how modern feminism sometimes overlooks critical issues like the impact of transgender policies on women's spaces. When presented with data and differing perspectives, the feminist reacted strongly, indicating discomfort with the presented viewpoints. This walkout highlighted the heated nature of discussions around feminism and the challenges in addressing deeply held beliefs and misunderstandings about gender equality.
You have claimed that you oppose medical transitioning for these children, namely and specifically to what normally happens is puberty blockers, which you have called you called it child abuse. Is that correct?
It is. That's correct.
You consider it You consider it child abuse. You consider it child abuse because you believe that a child is not capable of consenting to what you consider are irreversible procedures. Is that correct?
A damaging, irreversible procedure.
Damaging. Okay. Ben, are your children circumcised? Did you circumcise your children?
Yes, I have two sons and they're both circumcised.
Why would you do that? Isn't that kind of hypocritical?
Nope, I'm circumcised. My works just fine.
Why is violating the bodily autonomy of an infant acceptable to you? And I can say, I'm a owner, and I can tell you, there's sensitivity right there, Ben, that is removed when you do a circumcision. Why is that okay to you?
Well, I don't mean to get personal, but I'm sure it doesn't seem like you could possibly have a basis for comparison. You can't be both circumcised and uncircumcised. You're going to have to choose. As far as the efficacy of a once it's circumcised, if you wish to get into the biology, I'm perfectly happy to just point at my 4 children. I've been fruitful and I've multiplied. It's all working out just great. As for the notion that it is a grave violation of bodily autonomy, I can tell you there are millions of men across time who've been circumcised. This is not a quote-unquote damaging procedure in the same way that, taking a boy and shooting him full of estrogen so you can later cut off his and is. That's an absurd comparison on every level.
Ben Shapiro responded to a college student's challenge on circumcision by asserting that it is not comparable to medical transitioning for children. He argued that circumcision is not a damaging procedure, unlike giving children puberty blockers and estrogen, which he views as irreversible and harmful interventions.
In today's polarized world, is feminism dead? I saw your hand.
I think that depends on the definition of feminism. I strongly think that feminism is more of an action than an identity. I would say it's uplifting all women, in which case it's very alive. At the same time, if we do follow that definition, feminism has splintered off into so many different areas that you can look at people like Sheryl Sandberg who say you should just get another nanny if you feel oppressed. And if we're talking about that kind of feminism, yeah, it's pretty dead.
I think feminism isn't actually about equality. It's about equality when it benefits us. I think feminism is really about women wanting special privileges and treatment at the expense of men often. And I think it's alive and well, sadly.
The debate on whether feminism still exists today boils down to how we define it. Some believe feminism is about actively supporting and uplifting women, and in that sense, it's still very much alive. But others think feminism has splintered into different versions, some of which seem to focus on individual solutions rather than systemic change. For instance, figures like Sheryl Sandberg suggest personal strategies, like hiring more help instead of addressing broader issues of inequality. Click now to see more wokey videos.